It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Ann Lotierzo sitting in today for Lisa Reimer. Joining me in the studio today is the team leader for the Mobile Crisis Response Team at New Horizons, Natalie Holtzman. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, appreciate your time and your insight and sharing your experiences here. So significant, I think, to really expose the experience of the professionals at New Horizons, because I think that's so key in instilling a sense of confidence and even hope in those that come seeking services. So I appreciate your time. And we're talking today about the managing your mental health and using natural supports to keep everything in balance. You know, it was interesting as we were preparing for the show, I was reading some statistics about mental health and how it struck me. There was a survey done, and some 75% of those surveyed said they feared some type of retribution at their place of employment if they took a mental health day. Now, we compare that to someone who says, I'm calling out, I have the flu, or I'm calling out, I broke my leg. But to call out and say, I have a mental health issue to deal with today was viewed as a negative, and there was that fear. There'd be some kind of punishment at work if they did that.
Well, it's going back to mental health stigma and identifying that you might have a problem and having a hard time acknowledging it, let alone to yourself. Now you have to, share that with your employer. So that can be really hard on someone.
Yeah, seems like a sense of shame. But speaking about work and life balance, and I guess imbalance, when things are not in a correct balance, that's when we do see some symptoms creep in. If you're working too much, which I also read another statistic, and the average working American is working more than 40 hours. Some are working 50 and 60 hours in a week, which leaves very little time for recreation and social engagement, which we know are keys to maintaining a solid, balanced mental health.
Right. So, we have to work. As a society, we're taught we have to work.
We do have to work, and work is good.
And work is great.
Work is good. I think humans were made for work.
Yeah, and you can enjoy work too.
You can.
But the key word is balance here. So kind of like a seesaw. So maybe if your work is a little stressful, and you're not having an enjoyable time for whatever reason, then the other spectrum is your home life, and you want to make sure at least then you're enjoying that, and you have activities that make you happy and that relieve stress. So you want to have that balance, because both might not be good at one point together. So you need to have some type of stress relief or enjoyable activities or a support system that you can utilize.
Right. Now, there's always that, adage about not bringing your work home with you.
Right.
But I really, to this day, don't know anyone who's able to leave work at work. I think back, my own career is limited, but I was in the classroom, as you know, as an elementary school teacher for a number of years. And talk about bringing your work home. You always had a backpack full of papers to grade or planning to do. You're looking for projects for the next couple of weeks. So it's something that you couldn't escape. You always brought your work home. And then, my career now, it seems to be almost a melding of two, I would say.
Right.
But really seeking to do some activities that are not work related helps to achieve balance and probably makes the output at work and the job performance probably improves.
Yeah, kind of like re-energizing yourself. So you're able to refocus better. You're able to be more involved in your work. Making sure you have those activities that you enjoy, it is really significant and important to have. Having that balance in anything.
So, and that's a good point, in anything. So when we don't have balance between work and home life, we may run into experiencing some symptoms of mental illness. May find some anxiety, some depression, any of those
Anger,
things.
irritability, sure.
Right. And they sneak up on you, and there you have it. So looking ahead to creating a well-balanced week certainly has tangible benefits for someone at the end of the week when Friday comes, or whatever the end of their week is.
Right.
And then, but planning. I think one of the other things when we think about home life, though, is what is at home? Who is at home? And that may include even pets. We know that pets have a very positive effect on your mood, your outlook. And I believe I have seen studies show that pet owners actually live longer. So they're experiencing a better life and living it longer. So we look at, the pets as being a support to achieving that balance and managing our mental health. And then we are always looking for social connections as well.
And it's like you said, the key word is planning. So staying organized is really important for your mental health as well. So making sure that, if you have mental health services already, that you're going to your appointments, planning activities that you enjoy. We were talking about vacation times and planning cruises or, anything like that. So making sure that you have things to enjoy and look forward to is very helpful in that work-life balance. And making sure that you're staying in communication with your support system, even if you can't see them on a regular basis. Like for myself, I speak to my mom every day on the car ride home. And that kind of helps me, unplug from my work because it can be stressful at times working in the mental health field. But I know once I get in my car, I call my mom, and that 10, 15-minute conversation, kind of really helps me unwind.
Okay. So in a sense, your mom acts as a therapist, someone to communicate with, to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
And as you said, kind of unload and just so that does lead to some kind of a balance. By the time you do get home, you kind of feel like now I can enter into home.
Right.
But what is it you think that gets in the way of that planning? You talked about that organization, because we know so well, we have all the information there. We know from experience, we know from our childhood, growing up, going to school, there was the balance of, you didn't do math all day, right? You did math, you did reading, you did social studies. There's an integration of various things. And importantly, there were break times. There was recess where you got to, run around and play games and socialize. But sometimes that doesn't work out for us. We get very consumed with our jobs or with different things going on in life and forget that key word you talked about, organization.
Yeah, so it can be really hard because you get caught up into your day-to-day life to forget to kind of take a break and pause and just reflect and make sure that you're okay and kind of do a self-awareness check. And that could be hard in work too. Sometimes you don't get breaks or there's something going on and you just don't have that time. But it really is important to set that boundary with yourself and have that moment, even of 5 minutes of just self-awareness. Am I okay? How am I doing? Even little, making sure that you have a snack or hydrating yourself. It doesn't have to be something so significant as, going on a cruise. It could just be something really simple day to day.
Well, the word that you I focused on when you were just talking is boundary, and creating boundaries and the boundary between work and home, and then the other boundaries as well. If you're not socializing, we see that does have an effect on people. People do complain about being lonely,
Mm-hmm.
and loneliness is part of depression, isn't
Yes.
it? So that is something that we can see, we encounter, and I'm privileged to be able to interact with people on the mobile crisis response team on a pretty regular basis. And I encounter that loneliness in these individuals all the time. I think that is one of the reasons why they found themselves in crisis, is they are lonely. They have no one to rely on, no support system. They don't have their mom picking up the phone for them every day,
Right.
or calling them back, or texting them positive messages. And that experience of loneliness is very depressing. So then we see those other symptoms of depression sort of seem to creep out.
Right. And it can be really debilitating, that feeling of loneliness. And that's what's great about, our mobile crisis response team, or New Horizons itself. It's that beacon of hope.
Right. And that is so key and so critical for people to experience hope and to know hope and to never give up. So we're coming up on our first break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The Cataract Institute at New Vision Eye Center offers the most advanced technology available for patients with cataracts. Gentle, bladeless, computer-guided cataract removal. Our advanced laser system is designed to deliver the best visual results with unsurpassed accuracy and efficiency. No two eyes are the same, not even yours. That's why we use the Varian image-guided system to obtain a fingerprint of your eye before your cataract procedure. Doctors Minotti and Tate offer the safest and most efficient technique for cataract removal and permanent intraocular lens implant. Patients are personally counseled on the best approach for their needs and lifestyle. There are multifocal lenses that allow for distance vision and reading, or toric lenses to correct astigmatism. Call New Vision Eye Center for a consultation or second opinion. Your eyesight deserves world-class eye care. Visit newvisioneyecenter.com or call 772-257-8700. That's New Vision Eye Center in Vero Beach.
Did you know that when you wash your clothes at Sunshine Laundries, you may be doing more than getting your clothes clean? You may be helping a local charity. Hi, Tom Rhodes here, owner of Sunshine Laundries. That's right, from now until December 31st, Sunshine Laundries is donating 25% of the gross proceeds from a select washer at our 5 Indian River and St. Lucie County laundromats to United Against Poverty. Visit sunshinelaundries.com for the specific locations and hours, and support United Against Poverty.
This year, let the professionals at Premier Landscape Solutions enhance your property's curb appeal. Our expert design team can help turn your tired landscaping into the perfect backyard and create a customized care plan that will keep your property looking great year-round. 772-925-0030. Visit our website at verobeachlandscaping.com. From bare bones to beautiful, let us transform your space today.
We don't make excuses, we make results. Premier Landscape Solutions.
It's time to call Easy Brew Coffee and Bottled Water Service and learn just how much you can save and how convenient it is to have your coffee and bottled water delivered right to your home or office. In addition to water coolers, Easy Brew offers individual bottles of water in 8 or 16-ounce bottles. No more lugging it home or dragging it into the office. Serving the Treasure Coast for over 2 decades, 2 letters, 1 simple name. Easy for Easy Brew. Visit e-zbrew.com or call 800-792-3285. Easy Brew.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. Ann Lotirzo sitting in today for Lisa Reimer. Joining me in the studio today is my guest, Natalie Holtzman. Thank you again, Natalie. Appreciate your time and your investment, really, in the mobile crisis team and in New Horizons. We appreciate your insights, too. Some great insights today. We're talking about boundaries and organization, key elements of helping to maintain appropriate balance in life and avoiding the onset of sudden mental illness. Of course, when we're talking about mental illness, and there's such a wide spectrum of illnesses to talk about, There's the more severe and the chronic. And then the most common, of course, the depression and the anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So there's times in life, I'm sure, that people are coming and calling the mobile crisis team and saying, hey, this happened. I need to talk to somebody. And this, or whatever happened, could be such a wide range of things that can affect someone in their life.
Right. Depression and anxiety can affect anyone. It's just really to what degree does it impair your lifestyle or your day-to-day functioning. But, crisis is different for everyone. And so that's the beauty of our mobile crisis team is you can call anytime, 24/7. And, we will go out and talk to you. Because for some, they could be having a crisis. And it could be, very maybe not as significant to someone else. But to them, it's their whole world coming down on them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no judgment with mobile crisis. It's a free service. You call and we will come out.
So you talk about depression and anxiety can affect anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I've seen such a wide variety of statistics in terms of individuals in any given year who will report symptoms of anxiety or symptoms of depression, but upwards of 25% will experience some type of depression or some symptoms. I think it's very easy to encounter depression, but as you mentioned, at what level, what degree, and interacting or finding some support before it gets out of hand is so significant in stemming the tide of depression. Mm-hmm. It seems almost as one of those illnesses that can kind of take over. It's like a tidal wave that comes in, and it can lead to sleeplessness, weight gain or weight loss, actually.
Right. Isolation. It could be very small symptoms that keep creeping up on someone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they stop taking phone calls or they don't pick up their phone on a regular basis. They used to enjoy something and they stopped enjoying it. It's different behaviors from their normal.
I think that's important to focus on because I know from encountering individuals at all different degrees of depression that it doesn't always look the same for everyone.
Exactly.
So although there, of course, has to be a criteria to be, officially diagnosed with depression, there isn't a standard that everyone meets. So I've had people say, oh, I can't sleep at all. And then I've had others say, well, I'm sleeping all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so opposite symptoms, but really the same experience of depression, loss of interest. I think a very consistent complaint of individuals suffering with depression, that just a loss of interest in their day-to-day activities. And of course, we would be remiss if we didn't mention that at the other end of that dark road of depression sometimes is thoughts of suicide.
Right. And going back, you talked about, it's important to have a diagnosis. But I really like to focus on what the symptoms are because you're correct what you said, that you can have different symptoms but have the same diagnosis. So the key is really looking at symptoms, not saying, well, she's diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Well, what are the symptoms going on? Mm-hmm. And then when you identify the symptoms, then you can start working on the healing process.
I think that's key, and also helps the individual to identify some very tangible goals.
Correct.
So if there's someone whose chief complaint is that they haven't been out of the house to any kind of social event and they're so depressed and sad all the time, you may set that as a goal. And if they are aware of the symptoms and able to express what they are, then you can focus on overcoming that.
Right. And goal planning goes back to planning and being organized and having that balance.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when an individual is isolated or lonely, it seems as though that is a very dangerous situation to be in, and maybe a recipe for bigger problems or crisis down the road. And then what are some things that you suggest to someone who is just on the verge? We have that population here. Unfortunately, people come down to Florida for various reasons, but some come down for retirement, for example. And then one of the spouses passes away. You have someone who's not only dealing with the death and the loss, but also now that bit of loneliness.
Right. Well, if they're able to communicate, that can start somewhere. Communicate to neighbors, to friends, to family. If you don't have that, you can call New Horizons, available 24/7, or another great community resource is 211.
Yes, that's right. Not enough to be said. Couldn't say that number too many times.
Right.
It is so important for people to understand that 211 number is a link, and it does link to New Horizons as well.
It does. It's an incredible resource in the community, also available 24/7. By just dialing 211, getting a live person and asking you what you need.
Right. So let's put your mobile crisis team on the hot seat for a second here. And you have an individual who calls and says, I'm by myself. I'm not really in any kind of a crisis here, but I am so lonely. I just want someone to come and talk to me today. Is that happening?
Yeah. So we get those calls, and
So you get those calls already.
Oh, yes. Right. We get those calls already. So people know to call. Or people reach out to others, and that's how they may have gotten our contact information. And we offer to come out, and we do. Sometimes just being in someone's presence makes a deal. Sometimes just listening to someone is as important as giving direction.
Right.
And we're a support system.
So that let's talk about that call, because it is very relevant. If someone can at the very least, someone who's listening and knows someone or experiencing themselves that loneliness or that depression, that they can reach out to New Horizons, and the mobile crisis team will respond and will not only be there for that day, but it goes beyond.
Yeah, we follow up. So we are not just stopping at that first initial call. We are following up. We have a designated employee, our care coordinator, who is making those calls the next day and checking in and saying, how are you? How are you doing since, we were out there? Do you need us to come back out even?
Now, what about in terms of the resources? Because as we know, connecting with a social group is a very natural and hopefully simple way of alleviating some of that loneliness and some symptoms of depression and stress even. Is the team equipped to follow up with resources, connections, and ensure that someone can take the next steps on their own maybe?
Yes, so we will provide referral resources, and we will help them get to those resources as well. So our care coordinator is an excellent detective, and she's great at finding resources in the community for people.
It is really amazing, the community, the Treasure Coast community, of course, that New Horizons serves, including, Indian River County and Martin, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee. There's a vast amount of resources. I don't even know that everyone's always aware. And of course, there's new ones that are being added all the time.
Sure.
But we count, not just the wonderful beaches and places to attend and visit that way. Nature-wise, there's trails and parks. There's so many volunteer opportunities as well, which I think is a key social interaction opportunity for people that encounter loneliness and depression on a regular basis.
Yeah, and free events in the community as well. The Fort Pierce Market, on the weekend is excellent to go to. Different events in the community that you can go to that don't even cost anything. If you can just get out, if you can do that and get out and socialize and just say hi, and be around
makes
others.
a big difference.
That
but if
makes
you
a big
can't,
difference.
But if you can't get out, we do want you to call us. We want you to
Yes.
call New Horizons, 772-672-8470. We are there 24/7. We want you to call. We are willing to talk, and we're going to come out and help things get better for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for tuning in to today's edition of Mental Health Matters.